Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Emma, and today I invite you guys to come along with me and explore one of my fears, which is about beauty. Beauty is such a magical, wonderful thing, yet why do and I'm sure a lot of other people as well, have a certain type of fear around it? Today I want to share with you guys when I started thinking about the concept of beauty in the first place, the different definitions that I've assigned to it throughout my life, and when the fear started arising and what I've done about it ever since. I get the feeling this video is gonna go on one hell of a lot of tangents. Yeah, let's hop into it. To be honest, when I was young, it never really struck me if someone was beautiful or not. Mostly it came down to whether I enjoyed being in their company or not. And I had a very blissful, carefree childhood. Even though I didn't think of myself growing up in terms of beauty, I knew my merits. I knew that I was kind, hardworking, I had a good imagination, and I had good friends, good relationships with people. And I don't think it was until I hit puberty where I started conceptualizing beauty for the first time. Because when you're children, children always have this kind of cuteness to them, but when you go through puberty, your features shift around a lot, right? And you're also going through a bunch of hormonal changes which affect the way you view yourself and view other people. Your facial features, most of us, if not all of us, look kind of funky when we're going through puberty, because I feel like the features are rearranging themselves during this time span. So this was me entering middle school, so I'm about 11, I want to say. And I was introduced to K-pop for the first time around that time frame as well. So maybe that had something to do with it. Like, comparing myself to the K-pop idols was the first time I conceptualized that there were people that were deemed more beautiful than others. And for the majority of my teens, I never saw myself as beautiful. Again, I still knew my merits. I knew I was good at academics. I knew I was sportive. I was pleasant company to be around most of the time. I think I had a blip in high school, near the end of high school, where I was in my exercise and dieting phase, where I found myself more like aesthetically beautiful because I was doing these things. But in college, I actually put on like a ton of weight. I put on 50 pounds over the course of 4 years of uni in America. And if you're interested in that story, you can check it out right over there. But yeah, basically throughout college, I don't remember too much feeling beautiful. And it's not like I discredited inner beauty. It was just that the attention that I gave to external beauty was just so much higher. And I graduated college in 2020. And since then, so these past 5 years, it's been quite the journey of understanding more about myself, being more in touch with myself, undoing a lot of the poor programs that I had nurtured, for lack of a better word, during those years. When I felt more confident in myself, when I had more self-love, I also lost some of the weight as well. And I noticed that within the last year or two, I would say, I have felt increasingly more beautiful. And this is entirely subjective, right? This is purely my self-perception. I feel like other people around me have also felt that as well. And something that we're told a lot as women is that there is a certain age where your beauty peaks. And usually this peak is said to be somewhere in your late teens, in your early mid-20s, which is the age I am at now. And the peak of beauty is not something that I ever paid much mind to because I never really felt beautiful in that sense. But because I have been feeling more beautiful in my own skin as of these recent years, a new fear popped up. And it is the fear that I may have peaked and the fear that I will one day lose it and whatever else that comes along with it. Yeah, I'm just trying to be very transparent with how my thoughts have played out. And it's such an interesting fear to have because, like, theoretically speaking, if I were actually at my peak, shouldn't I be reveling in this new level of beauty? But why do I have this fear going over the peak and going down the other side of the hill? This is something very recent. Came to the point where Anytime I looked at something or read something that reminded me of my mortality, made me want to look away. And it reached a point where I was like, you know what, Emma, you have to look this fear in the eye. There's no point running away from this. And a lot of the times I have to write things out to make some sense of them. Also, the thing about being pretty. I know that objectively this is the prettiest I've ever been. The physical is only one part, but it's mainly the aura, I'm sure. I'm afraid that at any given moment I will have peaked. I thought being pretty would solve many things, and while it does, I never thought it would come with the fear of losing beauty, which has made me more hesitant to look at old age. Exactly what am I afraid of? I mean, society says a woman's worth is in her looks, but I am smart enough to know that there's nothing making me adopt these majority's standards unless I myself allow it. Is this a societal fear or a biological existential fear? They say beauty fades, but what if I choose to be beautiful forever? I do think that this is more of a societal fear than an existential fear, even though you could make the argument that if you strip it all down to the basics, being desirable means that you'll have a better chance at mating and reproducing and carrying on the species, the human species, right? But I think in this particular context, it would lean more to societal fear, something that I have been told by society. And that's the thing. There are so many beautiful things about society, the good things that people have done, but somehow it's like these negative thought patterns that kind of stick more and are repeated often and are perpetrated on media and all of those things. And I know that one, this is a product of the society that we live in, but also two, I have allowed myself to believe in it. So I also have a role to play in this, right? Which also makes me think about why these values or standards are so widely accepted and they spread so quickly. I think it would come down to power play and power dynamics, but perhaps we will explore that in another video. Anyways, I digress. They say beauty fades, but what if I choose to be beautiful forever? Who would stop me if I believed that I could be beautiful forever? How does it make sense, and how do I persuade myself into believing so? Because a wise man once said, what you believe, you perceive, and what you perceive, you experience. So if I can truly believe that I can be beautiful forever. So I started thinking about what beauty meant and why I personally feel more beautiful and why some other people have also noticed it. I think it's mainly about the aura. In other words, it is the person that you are inside, the values that you have, your personality, how you treat yourself, how you treat others, plays a very, very big part. At the core, everyone has this inside of them really, but it's a matter of how much you can strip away at the top so that you can reveal this underlayer of yourself that is basically like a ray of light. Because I do think that this physical body that I'm in is like a vessel for me to experience this world, but my soul is eternal. And I did not always believe this, mind you. It's only within recent years that I've learned more about it. I felt that school of thought made sense to me. It worked in my favor. It helped me have more trust and belief in myself, live life a little better, take life a little less seriously. And I believe this so much so that there was a dream that I had recently where I was stuck amidst a crossfire. It was like in the middle of a war and I was being chased down with some people with guns. And the logical thing to happen then and there would be to get shot and die. But what was going through my mind at the time was, this is just one chapter of my soul. If I get shot and I die now, I move on to the next chapter. Life is eternal. It's only this body that is mortal, but my soul lives on forever and it will get to experience a new chapter elsewhere. And this was me in my dream. And usually in dreams, you lose all sensible logic, right? Any rationale you have is thrown out the window. But here is, I guess I've believed it deeply enough to the point where I knew that as a fact, even when I was dreaming. I also believe that you can't die unless your soul allows you to. Unless your soul has agreed to it, you can't die. If there's more to be experienced on this playground of life, in this 3D life, then you will be here to experience it, no matter how hard you try to die. And in my dream, I knew that I couldn't die. It was just a feeling I had that there was no way I was dying today. Not today. Someone else, but not me, not today. And then I woke up. But you know what they also say? They say that this life that we're living right now is also the dream of the soul. And I'll leave that at that. Anyways, knowing that the soul is an eternal being, that it has all the most beautiful qualities one could ever dream of. It is only a matter of stripping the outside layers, maybe that we've been assigned with when we agreed to land here on this playground to enjoy life for a number of decades before we move on to the next chapter. And that spark within you, that light gonna shine no matter what. If that light is gonna shine no matter what, and that is me in the true essence of who I am, of what I am, then I can choose to be beautiful forever. Internally, the person I am is ultimately beautiful forever. That much I know, for the soul is eternal. And externally, the external would reflect the internal. And so long as my internal is beautiful, my external too shall be. Of course, the way my external beauty manifests will shift and morph. It may be youthful beauty, it may be womanhood, the beauty of wisdom, the beauty of blissful, carefree childhood, of parenthood, of singlehood, whatever it may be. Any and all of these expressions can take place in very random and non-chronological order. And I say this because there are days when I, as a 25-year-old woman, walk around and people think that I am a high school student. I take that as like a factual comment, and it shows me, okay, today I am exuding more childhood energy. And the funny thing is, let's say I'm having dinner with my mom and her friends from university. I know that they're in their 60s, but when they're together, they might as well be college kids. Like, the dynamic between them is very much like the carefree self that they were back in their 20s. And yes, I do believe that beauty comes down to the person that you are and the energy that you give off. Like, true, there is physical or aesthetic beauty that is undeniable if we're talking about first impressions, like for that half a second when you see someone. I would say for me personally, I do find that there are certain aesthetics that look more easy on my eyes than others. And that lasts for about a solid 0.5 seconds. And then you start interacting with the person, or you observe how they interact with other people. And once they start showing their personality, if on that particular day, in that particular instance, they're exuding this positive, kind, warm energy, automatic plus aura points. Automatically, you become more beautiful in my eyes. But if on that particular day, that person starts interacting with people, starts talking to people, and is showing a very mean, cold, unkind version of themselves, immediately you lose aura points in my eyes. Something else that I noticed while I was growing up, specifically at the beginning of high school, I would say, a lot of our faces during puberty in high school look very funky. I was funky looking. I was surrounded by a lot of other kids whose features hadn't kind of like set in place yet. But you know what? I realized that if I looked at someone's face and just looked at it for like a solid 5 to 10 seconds, and kind of mute out the rest of the world and just zone in on their face, you start seeing how their features make sense. You start seeing the charm in their specific combination of features, if you will. And that was something I thought was so fascinating. Like, really, everyone has a unique charm. And if you just slow down for a little bit and take a moment to look at them, like really look at them, you'll see it. You'll see the charm in everyone's faces. And if this is like difficult for you to do in real life, to shut out the rest of the world and just zone in on someone's face, or maybe you're making the other person uncomfortable by doing so, you could watch these series of videos. This is by a creator called Thoraya. And she used to do a lot of street interviews where she would ask people really simple yet intimate questions like, what is the happiest moment of your life? What is the biggest regret you've had? Who is the one that got away? Questions like these. And then she would record them as they answered, and she would zoom in on their faces, like uncomfortably close to their face. Yeah, it's the same mental process for me. You look at someone's face for a little bit, and then it really starts growing on you faster than you might think. If you haven't done that already, I highly recommend that you check it out. I'll leave some links down in the description below. So I guess what I meant to say through that segment is that beauty really shines from within. There is no one stable unit of beauty, I would say. I think the way that beauty manifests will shift and morph as we grow. If it didn't, if your genre of beauty stayed the same forever, that would be the equivalent of a river with stagnant water. And if you've ever walked by a river of stagnant water, you know that is stank. Inevitably, we're going to change, we're going to grow. I sure hope that we do grow. As your inner person changes, so will your outer person. And it would be such an exciting journey to observe how your inner world presents itself really on you, on this vehicle that you're borrowing for a lifetime. There is also a lot of beauty in wisdom, in having lived 5, 6, 7 decades and accumulating the wisdom and the experience to back up your own beliefs. I'm very lucky to have adults in my life that I trust that came a generation or a generation and a half before me. I can talk to them, and sometimes I'm really much of an introvert and I don't feel like talking. I might just listen to their conversations, and I feel like I learned so much about life through them. I might look at adults who talk about their 20s and 30s and lived life the same way that I thought I should live life. I observe how they turn out, and I decide whether or not I want to be like that or not. And if not, I can pick to change. It's really cool talking to people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, is because they've lived a lifetime. They've had their hardships. And when you talk to them, you start to realize what they do and don't give a shit about. There are a lot of things that my grandma used to say that I found were perhaps like unkind or uncalled for. But now that I've grown up a little bit and I think about the words that she used to say, honestly, you go, Grandma. I realized that I was caring too much about things that didn't really matter in the long run. And yeah, go talk to some grandpa, grandmas if you can. See where they care and where they don't care. And if you don't have any grandmas, grandpas, or older people in your life that you trust in your immediate circle, we have YouTube. We have so much on YouTube, and God bless the retired people who have taken to YouTube to give their advice. I recently stumbled on the retired corner of YouTube and been listening to stories being told by people in their 60s, 70s about the things that they appreciated most out of life or what they regretted most out of life. And even if the advice didn't directly apply to me, I feel like there's always something that you could take away from it. And that could be just a good story that made you feel more human. So yes, if you get the chance, I highly recommend that you check out that corner of YouTube as well. I will have some videos that I really enjoyed linked down below. They may or may not be life-changing advice depending on the person that receives it, but there are always heartfelt stories coming straight from experience, coming straight from wisdom. What more could you ask for? So now that we've established that beauty comes from within, I think we also want to talk about maybe how do we do that? How do we love ourselves more and work on ourselves? I think the first step for me was undoing a lot of the negative self-talk that I had harbored over the course of my teens and my years in uni. A very simple exercise to go about it is to start talking to yourself the same way that you would speak to your best friend. If your best friend has tried her best, but whatever she was working on didn't turn out that well, would you shit on her or would you encourage her? Tell her that you love her and that it's okay to fail. If your friend is feeling down, would you berate her for being unproductive or would you tell her to take the day off and rest? I used to love myself very, very conditionally. I was like a very high achiever in academics, and whenever I was able to do something, whenever I proved myself that I could like play a sport or I could achieve whatever grade, then I would believe that I have the ability to do it and not before. But now that has shifted to being less conditional. I believe in myself that I can do things before I can do them. I also think being more in tune with my energy levels throughout the day. I'm quite introverted, I would say, and I need a lot of alone time to recharge. To put it into perspective, if I were to go on holiday for a week, it would not be going on holiday. It would basically be a week of traveling, and then when I return home, the holiday begins then and there. I would need a week off to recuperate, I guess, process whatever happened during that week of traveling, recharge before I would feel ready enough to re-enter the world again. I feel like I live life pretty slowly. I live it at half pace probably. Yeah, because like I don't process things very quickly on my feet. If I'm somewhere and there's like a lot of things going on, a lot of people, a lot of conversations, most likely I would just capture the whole event in my head like a movie. And then it's not until afterwards when I'm sitting by myself when I start to go over what happened and process what it all means and try to make sense of things there. It's also making time for the things that bring you joy. And you have to be honest yourself with this one. The things that bring you joy may not always be altruistic. The things that bring you joy could sometimes be very selfish activities, the things that you just do for yourself. Like for example, I learned how to sew. And I used to want to sew so that I could also make gifts and share that joy of sewing with someone else. But I came to the realization and I admitted to myself that sewing for me is a very indulgent endeavor, if you will. And that's okay. I enjoy sewing for myself. I enjoy learning about fashion for myself. And if that keeps me from being a menace for society, that's good enough for me. So, my final verdict is that I am beautiful forever. So long as I can make sure that my inner light shines through. Heck, it will always be an absolute adventure to see the different shapes that beauty can take through me. Basically, you would never peak, right? You would just keep getting more beautiful and more beautiful. Your presence becomes more magnetic. The people around you are not suffocated by you. Your beauty is not insufferable. Your beauty is welcoming and warm and invites people to be in your presence to activate the better version of themselves. That would be true beauty, and that could only get better and better, more beautiful by the day. Of course, there will be days where you don't feel your best. There are days where I don't feel my best. There are days that I'm sick. I know I am beautiful, but when I look in the mirror, I say, Emma, you look terrible today. And that's okay. And in no way is this self-hate. If anything, it is transparency for myself of how I feel right now and what I need right now, what I need to give to myself right now. So it's not so much, hey, you're shit. It's more so, Emma, you feel like shit and it's showing. So why don't you do us all a favor and go lie down or something? Take the day off. It's okay. That is my little spiel on beauty. It is a fear that I feel like a lot of us may resonate with. That is one fear resolved for me. The standards of beauty that is told to us in society will keep on changing. And in no means will I be trying to upkeep with it, because I know that the best version of myself is already here, and it's only a matter of letting her express herself as authentically as she can. I think that's a good place to wrap this video up. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. My name is Emma, and I'd love to hear your feedback, your comments, your stories down in the comments below. I think we'd have a very insightful discussion. You will continue exploring more of my fears on this channel. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next video. Right? Bye! And oh, if you're wondering where this shirt came from, I'm happy to tell you that I made it myself. Isn't it pretty? Anyways, thank you, love you, bye!